Spaghetti bolognese, or spag bowl, as we like to say here in the UK. For when it's, dark and dreary outside, or as they like to say, summer in England, and you don't want to go out and you want something just magnificent. You could go with something like this. I'm kidding. This, my friends, is a jar of sadness. Industrial resignation, when you've completely given up on life. And don't get me wrong, the nicely labeled ones are just as bad. Just as bad as drunk dialing your ex-partner. And you got to pay for the privilege as well. I picked these up for like £2.50 or £3 a pop per jar here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to make the ultimate spag bowl, where it's going to make you question your local Italian restaurant the next time you go there. Let's get into it. Now, one of the secrets to a really good spag bowl and lots of Italian is what is called sofrito, where you are starting off with basically a kind of a roux, really. And really what it is, what a sofrito is onion, carrot, and celery. Now, I have to admit, I have a complicated relationship with celery. I imagine many people do. I consider it the devil's butt plug. But it does some pretty wonderful things when it's in things. It kind of brings up the flavor profile. Now, I've been asked to do some episodes on flavor profiles, and those will come. But when it comes to Italian, a sofrito is a lot of times where many dishes start out. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different with the onion. We're going to infuse it rather than create the traditional sofrito, but you'll see what I mean as I go along here. The first thing you want to do is get yourself one of these. I'll put the link down in the description below. No sponsor or anything like that. It's just the one I own, and it's really freaking good. But in order to use this, what you want to do is you want to chop this up pretty small. Just to begin with. So you want to give your food processor a bit of a chance. Tap it a few times. You should end up with something very uniform. One of the things you want to do is you only want to use half an onion. So I always have generally half an onion in my fridge, saving it for later. So we'll use this in a bit. Okay, first thing you want to do is heat your pan up. And if you can, start yourself off with a pat of butter. Now I use stainless steel pan, as you can see. Eventually I'll probably talk about stainless steel versus Teflon and all that jazz. But stainless steel, you barely need to heat it up compared to like Teflon and whatnot. So once you get a good amount of heat, I like to heat it up fast because I don't want to waste forever. But then you got to turn it down. So once you got this up, you want to add what we made earlier. Now you don't need to use all of this. Just a little bit, really. I'll probably use about half. Okay, and put your vegetables in first, for sure. And just trying to get them going, release the juices and all that jazz. I would say probably only like 2-3 minutes, something like that. You don't want to like seriously cook this through or anything. You want it to start getting really aromatic. And then you add your mince. All right. Now, for this recipe and kind of anything to do with meatballs or whatnot, we'll do meatballs one day, but for spag bowl specifically, you want 15% fat. If you go 5% fat, that sounds good, but it ends up, your spaghetti bolognese, your bolognese ends up tasting like cardboard. It's horrible. If you go 25, it just starts getting a little bit, I don't know. Get this mixed in really well. What ends up happening is the fat from the beef ends up melding with the aromatics of your vegetables here. And pretty soon, your veggies kind of melt down If you've grounded them to as fine as I did, which is really pretty tough to do manually. So definitely use a food like a hand blender, like I did. And this will take several minutes. One of the things I like to do is I don't over brown the beef. And then I kind of start prepping for the next step, which I use just regular old canned Italian chopped generic tomatoes. I use the chopped, not the peeled plum, just because, I don't know, I think the peeled plum's a bit watery, to be honest. It doesn't end up with doing what I want in the end result. And the beauty is this is a very easy recipe. You can do this in one pot. I'm doing it in the pan today just so you guys can see the most here. But usually I do it in one pot, and this is great for students. This is great for, those who really don't want to do that much cooking. This recipe is wonderful, especially if you're just starting out and you only have like a small hob or something like that. Don't even own an oven. I've been there. Don't worry. You can still do some wonderful things in the kitchen. All right, so once we get to about this point, this is where I like to start adding in the tomatoes. And you'll see that the juices of your beef are just slightly kind of orangey colored, just a little bit, right? You don't want it, you'll know you've gone a little bit wrong when it's just pure orange or it is something like that. And what this is going to do is it's just going to add a depth to your bolognese that generally you don't find. And we transfer. I'll try to do this right-handed so everybody can see. You just transfer everything. Keep it all. Don't strain the fat off or anything like that. It won't be overpowering in the end product. If you strain the fat off, what ends up happening is you lose a lot of the flavor. Then just straight in with both cans, and I use 2 cans because I make enough for several days. So this method is ratioed to 2 400-gram cans of tomatoes. Give it a good mix. Always give it a good mix. And believe it or not, you're almost done here. So about a tablespoon of garlic granules. About the same ratio of Italian herb. So you want just enough to cover the surface of your sauce, which that's generally how I measure. I don't generally go the whole tablespoon, blah, blah, blah kind of way. It's kind of feel as you go. But for the purposes of this, go a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more of each. And then you're going to pop in your onion. This is infusing onion right there. And that is it. That is all you do. You're going to give it a good mix again. And we're going to do a cheat code today. And one of the things I like to do is I like to add my own bone broth, but I appreciate that not everybody has bone broth. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Knorr beef stock. Don't use the beef gravy. Use the beef stock. And you want 1 of these per can. So if you're going to do half the recipe, then obviously 1 can of tomatoes, 1 of these. And this is pretty much it. You're starting to see that classic deep red coloring already. And the rest of it is time. Leave it on simmer for 30 minutes to an hour, something like that, a low simmer, and then turn it off and let it rest. Let it rest for hours. It will be an unbelievable flavor. So what we got in here, we got the carrots. The carrots are doing 2 things. A, they're taking away any acidity in the tomatoes that might be there. I mean, it's canned tomatoes, so there's not a whole heap. Sometimes they might add too much citric acid. That's about the only preservative in generic canned tomatoes. Everything else, there's no sugar, no nothing in there. So we're using natural sugars from the carrots to balance out any acidity in the tomato. The celery is adding some depth, and then the rest of it, boom. You're not even going to notice that there's kind of like a vegetable layer there. It's just going to be like this kind of interesting umami depth. So simmer for 30 minutes and then let it rest. All right. Once you're done with that, after about 30 to 45 minutes, you want to put in your salt. Salt to taste really, but generally I do about 2 tablespoons of salt. If you want more, then put in more. And then I do about 1 tablespoon of Parmesan cheese. And that is it. That is everything. You're going to cover it up and you're going to let it rest. And you're going to let it rest. I generally allow mine to rest at least 3 hours. You can do this the night before. You can do it afterwards. But that is pretty much it. I think a lot of people overcomplicate bolognese sauce. There's a lot of myth, a lot of baggage that goes along with it. Everybody has their own family recipes and all this jazz. I guess this is mine, but who knows what the original is. But I can tell you this, I've had groundbreaking results to the point where people beg me for the recipe. People ask, how did I do that? Do I own a restaurant and whatnot? So that's the spaghetti bolognese recipe. And one of the great things about it, on top of that, on top of you don't need a whole heap, it's not overcomplicated, it is guaranteed to tame the brattiest 5-year-old ever who doesn't like to eat anything. Try this. You'll like it. I'm pretty sure they'll like it. At least mine did at that point. Other than that, I hope this helps. I hope you enjoy it because life is too short for bad food. Until next time.